All right, everyone, welcome to this full moon Sidereal Astrology forecast for May 10th, 2017. All right, so full moon in Libra. This is for Sidereal Astrology. If you are new to the channel, be sure to check out the link down below because the signs are different. Full moon is actually in the constellation of Libra, if you were to look up at the sky. So, a full moon time, first of all, this is a time of doing a status check in our lives, a sort of evaluation. See how things have gone the past 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, you may have started something new in your life. You can check your weekly horoscope to get more information on the new and full moon houses for you. But yes, the past couple of weeks, how are things going here? And even the past 6 months as well, because we are talking about the solar cycle, right? So great time to do this evaluation. Now, with the constellation Libra, collectively for all of us, this is on some level having to do with balance, right? You've got Libra, the scales. And if you notice, the scales, it's not that we're on either side of the scale, right? The scale is dual, it's both. So it is very much about balance, right? And having that centered perspective. And from that centered perspective, seeing, which areas of life might be out of balance, that maybe want to bring more balance back into our life. Or it could also very much have to do with relating with others, right? The mirroring effect of relationships, developing give and take, cooperation, those types of things. So that's what Libra is about. That's what's really being cultivated at this time, both balance in our personal life and relationships. And it's an excellent time to do a status check with this. All right, the full moon will be trining up to Chiron and Neptune and sextiling up to Pluto. So let's go and look at this in more detail when we return. All right, so here is the chart of the full moon. It will be taking place at 16:19 Eastern time. So yes, status check time. How is balance in our life? So very good for seeing this again in your personal life, right? Is there one area that maybe has had too much emphasis the past 6 months? Probably more than likely. This kind of thing probably in a larger sense. But yes, is there any area that's been having too much focus, too much attention? Are there any areas that are not given enough attention? And so this is a great time to now bring that balance back into effect this week. The full moon is an active time. We do have a bit of energy collectively, right? We do have a lot of awareness. So using the energy, using this awareness to, again, bring this balance into play is fantastic. Now, this is also very much associated with relationships, right? Libra, the give and take, the cooperation, finding harmony, mutuality. So in your relationships, I think developing these qualities of seeing the other person's perspective, right? Because we've got the sun in Aries, which has been about the past few weeks, very much emphasizing a focus on self, right? And a focus on our personal needs. But now we come up to the balance point where the moon opposes up to the sun. And now there's this greater understanding or greater awareness about others' needs, others in our life. And so where can we find that balancing point? Again, from the center of the scales. It's like we're not on either dual side of the scales. We're not, in the, positive, negative. We're not in the his or hers and mine, that kind of thing. It's really just doing what's best for everyone. Doing what's best for us and what's best for our relationships, right? Or the other. And so that's the truth of the matter too, and that's this paradox, is that what is actually good for us is what's good for our relationships. And what is actually good for our relationships is what's good for us. So it's finding that point. Now, this isn't to say everything that's good for us is good for our relationships. No, it's what's actually good for us and vice versa. Okay, so yes, I think it's a fantastic time to do this. Fantastic time to see where we can cooperate a bit with others. Find that even keel, mutuality, give and take, and cooperation. So there's a whole other side of Libra too, which is the justice and morality side to it. It's also a good time to be doing a status check with you know, our own actions? Do we, you know, how are we doing the right thing, whether it's in relationships or not? And by right, I mean just simply, you know, the thing that we feel like is what is actually the good, right? What is good for everyone or the situation or whatever. So often we do know naturally, as human beings, we know what is right and what is wrong. But sometimes there's a bit of a gray line. Sometimes we kind of go into it and cross it a bit. And sometimes we might do it subconsciously or unconsciously. So it's a great time to now bring extra awareness to our own actions in terms of, are we doing things, you know, justly, morally, and again, doing the right thing here. Okay, so there's kind of three sides to Libra in the way I would categorize it personally with our own balance in our own lives, right? And then also in relationships, and then also just generally in terms of, you know, justice and equality and the moral side to Libra. Okay, so that's generally what we got going on, but we do have some easy aspects with it. We do have a trine from Chiron and Neptune and a sextile up to Pluto. So good to have supportive energy with this. With Chiron, we could be feeling that this full moon is healing, or it is rejuvenating at this time, feeling a bit refreshed or willing to face fears and take actions or take some steps that through taking those actions, we can feel healed in the process. Right? Sometimes we have to face our fears in order to heal any wounds we may have. So there's a lot of support to do that. Okay, so Chiron very much assisting this. Neptune trining up to it means that with this evaluation, with the status check, there's also this willingness to let go, willingness to surrender, willingness to go with the flow and detach, which is fantastic, especially because the dispositor of this full moon is Venus. Venus naturally rules Libra, and she's over in Pisces, where she's been for a very long time now. And Pisces is very much what Neptune is about in terms of surrender, letting go. In fact, we've been learning a lot about this. So let's say in our relationships, you know, we've been learning a lot about just accepting this area and accepting others, and just having a bit more of a receptive approach there in our relationship. So there's a tremendous peace that arises from all this. There's a tremendous easygoingness, compassion, understanding, all of this when we are detached, right? We are surrendering. We are willing to go with the flow. So I think we've developed this quite a bit. And again, it's very much supporting it, I think, with Neptune, and anything you can do to further cultivate this more receptive approach to your relationships and to your life in general, I think at this time is fantastic with Venus in Pisces, especially because she's exalted here. She likes to be here, and it can be quite easy to work with that kind of energy with Venusian things. All right, so then there's a sextile to Pluto, which is a bit minor, simply because the trines are more powerful than the sextiles, of course, but the sun has been trining up to Pluto. So there is this whole willingness to make some changes, and this is likely changes along our life journey, okay? Because Pluto's been in Sagittarius, which is all about the spirit for life, and changing our perspective, changing our beliefs, right? So the sextile is an opening, and there's a sort of door presenting itself with this full moon, and we can choose or choose not to walk through it. But I think if there is anything that you do feel like you can, again, like Chiron, face some fears, to initiate, to take some steps with, whether it's internal or external, I think is fantastic with this full moon. All right, everyone, so that is the full moon in a nutshell, but we do have a lot going on here astrologically this week and going into tomorrow as well. Today we do have Mercury conjoining up to Uranus exact. So as it was the case really this past like month and a half it's been, but lately Mercury's been very close to Uranus. Now they're going to conjoin, which is essentially this whole new perspective, this solidification, I think, today about a new perspective, especially with the full moon, because that's what the full moon can bring, right? New perspectives, new ideas. But with Uranus, it's very different. And I think there is this difference about things. Maybe it's with your routine. Maybe it's the way you're thinking about things. And I think fundamentally it is about bringing in more excitement into our lives, more freedom into our lives, and to cultivate things in a way that is more in alignment with what we're truly about. Okay, so that's very much an orb today. I think it's very much assisting this full moon. And so with this awareness, there's also a bit of, ideas about what can we have that's more freeing in our life, more exciting, and again, more true to us. Now, going into tomorrow, we do have a challenging aspect. Mars is going to start to square up to Neptune. This is going to go exact tomorrow. And this is very different from this support I was talking about with going with the flow. So with, on some level, with this awareness and with this larger picture stuff, we are willing to detach. However, the ego, I think, is holding on here to a degree, okay? Maybe we won't feel it depending on your sensitivity. You may not feel this until tomorrow, but it's certainly an orb today. And this is Mars, again, just like that Aries energy, our personal needs, squaring up to the vastness of life, the divine process, the ocean, surrendering, letting go. And so I think our egos are collectively dissolving this middle part of the week. And it's not easy to do that because, again, Mars is the side of ourself that wants to take action. Neptune is the side of ourself, the very deep side of ourself that doesn't, that wants to detach and surrender. So there's certainly a bit of clash here collectively. And if there is anything you can do to challenge yourself with bringing in more acceptance in your life, more peace, whether it's through meditation, yoga, prayer, whatever your activities are, the square is very much about taking steps. Now, this isn't active steps like, necessarily going out and like physically taking action. It's just meditating. Meditating is an action, it is a step, but it is the process of doing nothing or just bringing more conscious attention to the breath or to your environment or whatever it might be. So it could be very receptive, and I think receptive steps can be very, very impactful, very important with this. Now, the other side to it too is that maybe there is some things that, we can just put on the back burner, kind of take a step back with, okay? So if you are feeling like that, if you are feeling like you're putting energy in a direction or towards some needs or wants of yours, and you feel lost, you feel confused, you're not certain where it's going, sometimes it is good to take a step back. So I'll talk more about this tomorrow, but there is definitely a dissolving going on, and the more you're willing to dissolve your own ego, you could say, I think then it's really getting on the right side of it. Because as a result of this, yes, we will all become, through this process this week, much more accepting, tranquil, easygoing, willing to go with the flow, although we may not be on some level willing to do that, or the ego is not willing to do that. Okay, so anyways, today though, the strongest thing is certainly this full moon. Here are the aspects we talked about: trine up to Neptune, sextile Pluto, trine up to Chiron. Here is the full moon energy. So great time to do a status check for the next couple days. Check your weekly to see which house this is, but collectively for everyone in terms of balance. Standing from the center of the scales, seeing both sides of the coin, whether it's in your personal life, whether it's in relationships, or with matters relating to morality. And I think that's a fantastic way of working with this. All right, so I hope you guys have a fantastic full moon. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow.